Hey Alpha Fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today I just want to go over the massive dump that we're having on the Bitcoin chart. Of course, this is what this channel has been talking about for months and months, ever since back here at 59,000. And I mentioned it's time to get out of the market. What happened next? Extreme drop, right? Back here at 33,000, I wasn't quite convinced yet, but I did say you might want to take a chance and called some confirmation of a possible local uptrend around 34,000 bucks, and that was actually a pretty nice bounce. Called it again around here, around this 34 to $35,000 area, that there could be a nice bounce, but to mind our resistance, and that there was a fib channel limitation on us that would send us back. And of course, that was a hard rejection. I do believe that if you took that warning dead seriously, that you got out of that unscathed. But you can see we had this a nice bounce area here just by the horizontal fibs, and then by, of course, our fib channels, you had a very severe looking possible rejection coming up. And sure enough, it's happening. And I told you this top was looking very similar to the top over here in May. And sure enough, this dump looks very similar to May. Uh, Will these channels be respected? If so, then perhaps 25,000 is the bottom of it. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure, but this thing has been respected pretty well. They don't often get to the bottom of the channel on these rejections. Of course, we could go back through Bitcoin's history. And so who knows? Maybe this is the bottom. Maybe it's not. We are getting a pretty nice bounce right now. And I can show you something. Let's see. Let's go ahead and look at these wedges that we've kind of formed here. You see this bottom here, all these bottoms kind of lining up, and then we're just right there, and that's where our bounce is, which coincidentally is aligning with this diagonal. And so I'm not sure which wedge we're using, but conceivably both of them are in play because this industry is so bot controlled. Just the algorithms and the bots. No human beings can really understand all the working pieces of all the stocks and all the cryptos. And so they develop AI, they develop algorithms, they employ bots in order to identify value. And so, of course, the net effect of all the major players deploying all these millions and millions of algorithmic and AI-based bots is that there is something very mathematical about the markets. And of course, we get into front-running situations where things can just spiral out of control. And you probably saw that on Luna's price, where Luna went from like $100 to 25 bucks today, which I actually did call in the Discord groups. I called Luna to $25, and we hit $25. So that was very prescient. I did not think that it would happen today. That was extreme. But again, like you can't fight the algorithms. You can't fight the smart money. So are we doing this kind of thing? And is this a good bounce point, perhaps for a possible breakout, or perhaps for a rejection and continuation down? Maybe. I just want to give you a little bit of hopium here. However, personally, I don't think that we're at the bottom of this market. If we do see this bounce continue, most likely it's just the smart money giving an opportunity to the dumb money to buy in, so that they can dump on the dumb money at a higher price than what we fell to. Because you have to think about this from, from smart money's perspective. If they all sell at the same time at the top of the market, the price is just going to go straight down. Their average price is going to be somewhere in the middle of all of that, right? And pardon me, I have a fever today, so pardon my lack of updates the last couple days, but I do think my last video explained everything really well and in good terms that could have protected you. If you were paying attention to that message, which I hope you were, While other guys were trying to say that, we're going to go to the moon again, we had already bottomed out. I was warning you that we had broken $37,000 and we were getting sent down, and it was just the beginning. It was just the beginning, okay? And that it was going to be a wild ride down, and it has been a wild ride so far. But again, if you think like the like market makers, if they all dump at the same time, then the price just goes straight down, and it can keep going straight down. And so, what is a useful tactic is to allow for some build up, get the dumb money back in, and then if they wanted to continue dumping it, dump it again, so that their average sell price is higher than if they had just dumped all at once, right? And so, if this is a mass exodus from the market by smart money, once interest rate hikes, because of course they had all this free money since way back here, free money, and then the interest rates are the cost of that free money, right? You can't get something for free. It doesn't exist in the world, right? There's no magical infinite energy, that human beings can access, right? There is none. And so if you get something that's just magical, up only, then at some point you have to pay for it. And the payment was increases in interest rates, right? Increases in inflation. And so with inflation and interest rates rising, the smart money said it's time to get out. But they wanted to have an opportunity for the dumb money to come back in and say, "Oh, that's a really good value. I want to get back in." And then the smart money dumps on them again, right? And so what do you think is going to happen next? Maybe right here, maybe a little bit lower. There's probably going to be a bounce at some point, a significant one. And then the smart money is going to dump on that one as well, because this is going to be a year-long process. We're probably coming back to these uh, well, maybe pre-COVID or maybe just post-COVID, like immediately after valuations, because that's the true market, right? That's the true market. All of this up-only stuff, that has only been based upon the free money. Every single Federal Reserve in the entire world printing money at the same time. Guys, there's a good chance that none of this was meant to happen. There's a very good chance that all of this, was just some crazy run up. Some crazy run up fueled by speculation and risk on free money. And that maybe this was actually, you know, the path of the market. Something like that, right? Just this kind of curve, gentle curve. Yeah, we had this blow off top, of course, during the early days, right? It makes sense. People got enthusiastic. And so the smart money thought, okay, we can do that again, right? But maybe this is really, kind of our curve. Or who knows, it's even flatter than that, right? And this was just like some craziness, and this was just like depression, and COVID and all that stuff. And this was craziness again. And so we're getting back to normal. And normal is going to be in that mid 20s, low 20s area, potentially. Potentially, okay? The guys selling you $100,000 up here, they were market makers. They were in bed with market makers. They're using like the market makers' algorithms, right? Who knows? They may even have been paid by these big companies in order to say those numbers so that everyone is targeting the same numbers. You don't know these people. Don't just believe anything that you read on Twitter or anything that is said on YouTube, right? Don't even believe me. Just to use your own common sense. All right. But, what goes up must come down, and we've seen that always, every time in crypto. Now, either you have reasonable moves like this, mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. That's extremely healthy market movement. But when you start going, you know, you're gonna have an equal and opposite reaction. Right? Uh-oh, right? Like this COVID dump wasn't the serious issue. This was the serious issue, right? Like there's equal and opposite reactions in these markets. And so what are we doing? We're doing it again, okay? And all of you guys who just thought, okay, we're gonna go up only. And I know I was one of those guys originally because you want to believe in something. You want to believe that this ride is not going to end, right? But eventually it ends. And sometimes you want to think that you're going to go on a second ride. It's just human nature to want more, okay? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what drives competition and innovation and exploration and, love and all of these good things in the world. But at the same time, we have to learn to temper those expectations because there are going to be, catalyst for reactions. And the reaction is always in the opposite direction, equal and opposite, almost every time. So what was this? I mean, it would look something like that, wouldn't it? I mean, wouldn't it? All right. Now we had a horizontal aspect to this, so we had some kind of consolidation. So maybe, maybe we can add, maybe we can get rid of half of that correction or something. So maybe we're talking about those mid 20s. But I'm just saying, like, if we had just had like a baseline, this up would come all the way back down to like $10,000. All right. Like, just if that's what we were if this is what had happened, we would just expect maybe it would come back to $10,000. Just if how crypto moves. Whatever it goes up, it comes back down, and then there's a slight diagonal up because it appreciates over time. That diagonal is the real appreciation, right? These parabolic movements are never the real appreciation. If ever you see a crypto that has a parabolic movement on it, don't buy that coin. Why? Because it's going to come back to a much better price, and you'd rather buy it there so you can grab the next parabola, and then some idiot can buy it up here thinking that it's going to go to the moon, right? And that's what it is. It's a zero-sum game in these type of markets. And that's what we're experiencing right now. Only the top of this market, as opposed to being a blow-off top, it ended up being a double top. And you know what? Double tops are extremely scary in the tech sector. Anytime there's double tops on new tech, it has always been bad. It has always been bad. And so the hopium here, after we breached that 59K where I was telling everyone to get out of the market, the hopium that we would somehow like go to 100,000 or 200,000, that was nonsense. That was pure propaganda by the market makers who were getting ready to dump on you in a series of pump and dumps, basically, where they let the market rise and then they dump on your head, right? They let confidence rise, and then they dump on your head. And probably that's going to happen again. Now, again, we're having this massive pump because we have this double support. We have this diagonal support, and we also have this major support, right? And so, of course, the market is going to try to bounce. And I can show you that in the stock market also. Let's go ahead and use my favorite, the NAS 100. And so you can see that we lost support here. I told you this was a critical support. It was like we lost all of these supports, and every time we bounced, it's always been an opportunity for smart money to dump on your heads, okay? And we lost this support, which, by the way, to me, that indicates that we're coming down to 11,000, maybe even 10,000, okay? Because we lost this support. It's already been breached. Most likely we're coming back down to it, just like what happened here when we lost these supports and then we came back to it. And, this is kind of like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the smart money that, hey, we're going to come back here. Like, whatever we do, we might bounce around, overnight or in the morning or whatever, but eventually we're going to come back down. Okay, and then we're gonna see if this one holds. If this one doesn't hold, then who knows? We're maybe finding a new area of support, maybe something like this. So there's room in this market to come down lower, but there's also room for nice bounces. And you can see it bounces here, bounces here, bounces here. The stock market is only bouncing like that right now. So if the stock market is only bouncing like that, and Bitcoin is putting in some type of, similar type of bounce. Don't expect it to be doing anything crazy, okay? Like, you're not going to be missing out. Don't FOMO and become the dumb money buying at the top of this bounce or wherever it may take you. Don't buy at the top of it. If you had bought at support, hey, good for you. Maybe you could have caught some coins that had a reaction rally. I mean, look at this. Trias bounced what, 20%. My goodness, that was a good bounce. That was an amazing bounce. But this thing is probably going to go lower. I mean, unless the market just suddenly recovers and somehow there's like some amazingly good news this week, it may just end up going lower. And it's under that diagonal, right? I had this diagonal marked out before I checked this chart. It's under that diagonal. Oh, yep, you can see it hit the top of my. Look how perfect that is. It hit the top of my diagonal, and then it started to get rejected. What does that tell you? This is a very weak movement. If it had busted on top of that diagonal and then taken out this high, then I would say, oh ho, this market may have a chance to recover, right? But this thing couldn't. This thing just basically retested the support that it broke under, so it now retested it as a resistance. And this just proved that is resistance. And so what does that suggest? It's going to come back down. Like, don't get faked out by these market makers. They're going to entice you into these positions. And well, Sol is $70, okay. And by the way, guys, like, I've been having a fever, and so I was asleep like when all of this happened. Where's Luna? I gotta check this out. Luna. Yeah. So, I had a massive target down here, but I was calling $25. You can see it hit my diagonal perfectly. Look at this, guys. Like, I'm telling you, like, these diagonals have some power. You have to do it the right way. If you don't understand how you're marking them out, then it's just going to be ludicrous. And you can also consider that this had a horizontal, right? Like, it's not just diagonals. You have to understand that there was also this point right here and this point right here. And so it's using that, and that this actually is coming from that high, right? So it's just a coincidence that it's just a coincidence that these diagonals, and again, it's the algorithms, it's the bots. It's just a coincidence that these algorithms can match up like this. It's just amazing that this angle right here, can match up to a future price action, just based upon this one point. Like, when this diagonal was being established and this diagonal was being established, this point and this point had not ever occurred yet. The only point that existed was this one little point, and we came right back to it, which just happened to be on that diagonal. How crazy is that, right? And even I drew this a little bit high. So if I bring it down to the lows, you can just see how perfectly aligned that was. And for some reason, like, Bitcoin is doing the same thing. You see this diagonal? Look at the price action. It's on a diagonal, right? If this was a jump, right? If this was a semicircle, it's sitting on a diagonal. This top of this market right here is sitting on this diagonal down. This diagonal is pointed down. Yeah, these are like exuberance, right? Just extra enthusiasm. But you can see this price action kind of goes on this diagonal down. And the diagonal and the horizontal align perfectly. I'm telling you guys, it's the bots and the algorithms and the collective behavior of humanity has a certain pattern to it. We are, we like to think of ourselves as, beautiful little perfect, individual snowflakes, but together we have patterns. And, like, when you see these diagonals and these horizontals aligning in certain spots, you can pretty much assume that you're going to get extra support in that area, because this diagonal, like, this horizontal represents really those zones of supply and demand, right? Like the supply and demand zones, and then these horizontals kind of show the bots and the algorithms and the human nature as a collective entity. And when you combine the support from all of those kind of collective natures and AIs and algorithms, and then you also combine that with the market kind of like traditional trading principles, then what you're going to get is a very strong piece of support. And so that bounce, I mean, it could be expected. And who knows? I mean, I'm not going to call this because this market is incredibly weak. I mentioned we were having signs of weakness up here. I told you to get out at 37,000. And so we could potentially have something like this. Even we could have something like this to fake people out, because you know how they roll. We're going to 100,000. We're going to 100,000, right? So if there's a little fake out, we're going to 100,000. Like everyone's gonna get enthusiastic. Oh, we've totally recovered. We're back in that zone. No, they're probably gonna dump on your head. Okay, they're probably gonna dump on your head. The rest of this year might be pretty ugly. This entire drawdown on the market could potentially take months. It could take months. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like this or whatever, and just, work our way back up, at the end of the year. Maybe with some type of bounce in between or something. You don't know how spiky this stuff is going to be. You don't know if it's going to be very V-shaped and then have another dump, right? Could be a W or something. We could have these bounces anywhere. But the whole point is like this market is trash right now. Okay, it's trash. And so continuously think about protecting yourself. Do not get drawn in by those like moon boys who are just gonna say like, we're going to 100K now. Okay, like we're not going to 100K now. All right, I understand that it may feel that way. It may feel like you're missing out on something when you see like a 5% movement, or even if it ends up being a 10 or 15% movement. But just always be ready to sell. Like there's lots of natural resistance levels, right? Always be ready to sell, right? And so whenever you approach some of these limits, like the smart money is probably going to be taking some money off the table. They're going to be selling. So always be ready to sell until we can really prove ourselves, up in this area over 44K. If we get over 44K and then, over 47K, then probably we're having a real recovery and just something magical is happening. But anything underneath 44K, and even I would say 45K, is just probably a massive fake out. It's just probably another lower high, which would signal going down even lower. And so if you do get a bounce like this, it's just an opportunity to sell. And that's how smart money is going to use it. They're going to use it as an opportunity to sell. I almost guarantee you, not financial advice, again, just talking to myself, but almost guaranteed. So let's go ahead and get rid of these, little chart things. Let's see what did we see in 2018 during the drop like this? We saw a 50% markdown, right? Like from the point of the fall, we saw a 50% drop. And so what would be a 50% drop from that 47,000 that I had marked out? That's going to be around 18,000, right? So $20,000. Just if you wanted to use 2018 as kind of a rule of thumb, which again, it's just one data point, but you see it happened also during Corona. You can see these massive retracements in the past, right? And what we would prefer is to have little ones like this, right? What we don't want is huge ones because that's so traumatic to the market. It takes a lot of time to recover. But these little ones, they tend to just go on their way. So ideally, we have a lot of little corrections and stay on a nice normal path. When we start deviating from the path like crazy, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And what does our path look like? If we just eyeball this, our path looks something like this, right? What would that suggest? $20,000. Sometimes you go below, right? You can go above, you can go below. So if it's a particularly bad year, you could see like $14,000. This could be a nice support, okay? Oh, but we never go below our previous all-time high. Guys, like look at the history of Bitcoin. There's like no history on this thing. What do you mean we never went below our all-time high? Okay? We've never had this kind of like massive massive structure as an all-time high, right? Like look at this massive structure. This thing's huge, right? Compared to the history of Bitcoin. This thing is huge. And so who cares? Like we've never dipped below our previous all-time high. Who made that a rule? Who said that that's a rule? We have a double top. We've never had a double top in Bitcoin before. Well, we have a double top now, so maybe we're going to break our previous all-time high now, right? Maybe we could come back to 10,000. Maybe we could come back to 5,000. Are those kind of overdoing it? Is that overdoing it? Yeah, it is overdoing it, but we do have a lot of support in this area, right? Like this is a good support area right here. We have a lot of support right here, and we have a lot of support right here. And so I'm just talking about in terms of like a total meltdown of the market. If there's a total meltdown of the market, you can just eyeball these things. Like you don't have to be a wizard, guys. You don't have to be a wizard to figure this stuff out. Like you can see, like probably, probably this $10,000 area is going to be something worth considering. And then this like 6,000, and then even if we came back to these levels in a nuclear apocalypse, it could be possible. But what's more likely is that, maybe we have this support, somewhere here around 20,000. And then, of course, we had this support right here, which we're bouncing off of right now, which is that $30,000-ish area. And so, look, these are our levels, right? Like, you don't have to be a wizard. You don't have to be a genius to figure this stuff out. You just have to be a thoughtful person. And don't go by superstition. It doesn't matter what people say. We've never broken the all-time high. Guys, shut up. Like, this thing's only been, this chart's only been around since like what 2013 or something like that. And it wasn't even seriously traded back here, right? Like, this is all we have. Like you literally only have like one case study. You only have one case study of with financial institutions and everybody in it. One case study, one era of Bitcoin is not a trend, okay? It's not a principle. It's not laws of physics or anything. You have no idea what this asset could do. This thing, I don't want to scare anyone. I don't think this is going to happen, but this thing could literally just go back down here and do something crazy, okay? Like nobody knows what it could do, right? Like maybe something like this. And that would be, not uncommon in the world of crypto to do something that's just like crazy scary. Like if you look at all your cryptos, let's look at let's look at let's see how Credo's doing. Oh, Credo. Oh, did you come down to my price? 98 cents. 98 cents. I was calling 80 cents back here. Oh my gosh. I mean, look at this stuff, guys. Like it comes all the way back down. Like every time it comes like all the way back down. Sol. Okay? Like look at these crazy levels that I have marked out here. Right? I mean, I don't think it's coming to 15 cents. Like don't get me wrong, right? But so, and by the way, this is Phantasma. This is Phantasma. But like a soul, like look, like I had hoped for this type of a price in order to catch a bounce, and I had marked this out like up here when we were up here. I was still thinking the market could turn around. There's a possibility, the hopefulness is still in the market, and so I marked out my levels, and I just thought maybe around here we could catch something, and maybe it's gonna bounce off. But no, man. Like, look, these things have a way of just destroying your expectations, just destroying and, never coming back. I mean, always coming back, you see? And so if we have this diagonal, you can see like we hit that diagonal. I'm not sure why this one was so low. The diagonal's up here, and then it consolidated right above there. You have the bottom of this consolidation area, and it lines up with that consolidation. So look, these things like consolidate and you get nice bounces where these diagonals and the horizontals kind of, wedge each other in. But this thing could keep coming down. It's coming all the way down. Kadena also was very hopeful on this. Had a stop loss right here in case we broke down. We ended up breaking down. This was the suggestion that I had made. I made this suggestion as a possible path of Kadena. And look, we decimated my expectation. We're in this box where I thought that we wouldn't make it, and we had $2.18 Kadena. That's incredible. $2.18 Kadena. Wow, we bounced 25% today. That's incredible. See Zilliqa, what's Zil doing? I traded this one up and down so much. I mean, 6 cents. Wow, look at this bounce. Like people are just buying right now. Like they are just FOMOing in and just buying like crazy. 20%. Oh my goodness. People are just making so much money off of these bounces. And guys, it all comes back to what I was saying about Bitcoin having those diagonals cross with the horizontal right there, right there. This horizontal and this diagonal. Where they cross, bam, right? Let me go ahead and just put on my diagonal buy boxes. You can see like we squarely got into the center of my diagonal buy box, the top one. This is based upon my alpha origin channels, right? So we've got this thing going on. Not sure what that is, but we've got this thing going on here where if we work our way down, these are the different levels that I'd be looking at to buy. And sure enough, like dead center of that green zone that I had marked out, uh, was a perfect buy area. And then if we somehow come, go this way, then we're gonna perhaps get into another buy area, and eventually we're gonna like stick right at one of these levels. We could stick at this level, guys. Like I don't want to be scaring you guys. Like we could stick at this level, and maybe we don't ever go under this price. But I'm just saying it's unlikely this year because of the macroeconomics. Okay, so just be very careful. And but again, like this was my first DCA area. Like everything is still a pretty good price. I personally am not buying right now. I would rather see if we can get one level lower. Okay, I just don't think that this is enough blood in the water yet. I think people are buying this too enthusiastically, and I think it's just based upon this history back here. And I think just like we had to break these levels, I think we're gonna have to break these levels, and it's gonna be a battle. And I'll consider to trade this again. I've had a fever today. I wasn't able to catch any of this stuff. If I had been able to catch it at the bottom, where it aligned perfectly with my diagram and my buy box, I absolutely would have been buying all those different alts that you saw that can bounce like 20%, and I would have made a lot of money doing that, but unfortunately I have a fever. I mean, this price is just going crazy right now. All right, and so, probably we're going to get into this area and then we're going to get a rejection, but let's see. If we can keep going or have a fake out, who knows? As long as we're under this yellow line, we're definitely not recovered, okay? Let's see. Then I also have like a horizontal version of this, if you'd like to see that. And this is a little bit more uh, particular, I guess. So here's the one that I'll just DCA in down, right? It's basically, you could say like, uh, you know, Well, this is just one big green box. Yeah, except you have to look that it's weighted towards the bottom, right? So the lower we go, the more that I would buy, okay? Because you want your average price to be as low as possible. That's why the boxes get greener as it goes down. The lower that we go, the more that I'd be willing to buy. And so save your USDT, save your money. Don't spend everything at the top because this could be a long year. This could take weeks or months to really play out. And you don't want to be stuck in any trades, so don't buy too high. If you're missing this bounce, just be careful because it could come back down tomorrow, right? You don't know. This could be just a dumb money relief rally, and then the smart money is going to just dump on their heads tomorrow. You have no idea what's going to happen, okay? So we are not in a great place. Buy at these supports, figure out some supports, and you can DCA in at those things. That's why I also made this horizontal version where you can see this kind of consolidation over here on the chart. You can see this consolidation over here on the chart. You can see this kind of consolidation. So, you know, where these things overlap, like right here, they overlapped. So I would buy right there. And that worked out perfectly. They overlap right here. So I would buy kind of in this area right here. I wouldn't necessarily buy as, you know, every spot in this green area. I would buy where these things are overlapping and preferably towards the bottom of these horizontal ones, which would have been perfect, like right here. Let's go ahead and make that kind of dark green, right? So you can see that was perfect. And then, there might be another one over here. And I don't know where it would actually end up being, right? Like this thing can move, the price can move wherever it's going to move. It could drop straight down. And in which case I might have to pull these ones like over, right? Something like that. It's unlikely. It's unlikely. There's, nothing moves in a straight line in crypto. But, if it did, then I would just, have my line something like this, right? And these ones really just extend all across here. And so you can kind of see my plan. And then I do have this overlap right here. So just to make sure that I have all cases covered, I'm also considering like these just really extreme prices should we get down into that area. And you can see how I think about this. Yeah, I really do regret that I missed this, that and that I was asleep during it, but health first, right? Health first. And if we have some nuclear holocaust, then who knows, maybe these levels. But I doubt it. I really doubt it. Okay? Like again, don't let me scare you with this stuff. I really think these are the levels that we're dealing with. However, if we go back to the stock market, um, and again, like you want to buy more as you go down. You don't want to spend everything at the top because if you keep going down, you're going to be top heavy. You're going to be overpriced. Buy, you know, if we drop more, buy more. And don't deploy all your cash right away. It's okay. If we start going up and we have some confirmation of bullishness, then and we're on a new bull market, then it's okay to catch that bull market. Like like if you only deployed like 15% of your cash and you didn't deploy the rest, it's okay just to take profit off of that, and then as you have confirmations, you know but use that money to buy on retraces, you know but don't get but don't buy too high, okay? Like people just trap themselves buying too high. You should weight it on the way down. You shouldn't weight it on the way up. Don't throw your money on the way up, but you can buy on confirmations once the market turned around, right? Like this had a massive fall. Probably a lot of people didn't deploy all their money here. Probably just a few people deployed their money, and then they got a confirmation of support, and so they deployed a little bit more money, which is fine. It's the same level, and in fact it was lower, so they could have deployed even more money. And then we had another scare, right? This kind of like third bottom here, and then it was about the same, so they could have deployed even more. And then we had a bounce, and this was like some type of confirmation of bullishness. We had taken out these previous highs and then we pushed up, right? And so when we pushed up all this stuff, you could have deployed more cash, and yeah, that would have been your run. And then you should have gotten out of the market based upon certain signs here. And then you had another confirmation that you had a higher low. And so you could have deployed your cash there, right? And then you get this run as well. And that's fine. Like that's fine. You had confirmations, you bought in on retraces and confirmations. We didn't hit all these levels down. We only hit this top level. And so it was okay, if you missed that first run up because at least you had the money to buy in case we crashed lower, right? Same principle here. You can deploy some money, but you can see how price action moves. Like it doesn't move in a straight line. Eventually there will be a retrace, and we're either going to have like a double bottom, or we're going to have a higher low, or we're going to have a lower low, in which case you're going to be really glad that you saved your money. But either way, you're going to be waiting for a confirmation of higher lows, or you're going to be waiting for a double bottom or a lower low to use your cash. You don't want to just spend it all at one time because this market could go lower than you think, and this could take longer than you would expect. Again, like not financial advice, but these are things that I'm telling myself as I remind myself how to use my money. And also, some days you just miss the move. Like that's just how it is, right? Some days you just miss the move. We hit like what, 29,000, and now we're like 3,300 bucks up, right? Like that's crazy. That's crazy. Let's go ahead and check out, let's see, put these ones in this one. Wait, what? Let's go ahead and check out the stocks. Let's try the S&P. So the S&P 500, Bank of America was basically saying that it could come down another 28% from up here around 4,200. So if it came down another like 30%, right, that would put it down at around 3,000. So if the S&P came down 3,000, and then the S&P is a total down of, let's say 17%, and Bitcoin is down 53%, right? 53%. So, let's see here. Yeah, that's gonna be, yeah, again, like I think we mentioned this in the previous episode. It's something like a factor of 3 1/3 or something like that. 3 3 1/3. And so let's just say that Bank of America's projection is correct, and the smart money is saying like the market could have come down 30%, and so from here it could come down another. Let's just be generous, 24 to 20%. Okay, let's say 24 to 20%. So, and then let's use the smallest factor. Let's just say like a 3x, not like 3 and a third, even though that's what Bitcoin's using pretty much. Let's just say 3x, right? So that means that Bitcoin could potentially come down another 60% to potentially another 75%, assuming that Bank of America's projection for the stock market decrease for the rest of the year is correct. So this would be Bank of America. This is not me saying it, it's Bank of America saying it. And let's go ahead and take a look at our alpha origin channels and see what 60% would look like. Just move it over. Let's just say this takes time. Right? Let's just say it takes time. Let's say it takes a couple months. So let's give it until July. Okay? Let's say July. Then, I mean, this would be pretty much insane, right? This would be insane. That would be like 12,000. That would be 12,000 Bitcoin. Okay. So again, like I don't want to scare you with this stuff. It's just that's what the bankers are saying, and I don't know. I don't know. This is aligning like right here with my zone, so that's kind of scares me, right? Kind of scares me, and I don't want to scare you guys. I'm just saying, like this is Bank of America talking, okay? Bank of America is saying that, and I'm being generous, right? Bank of America is saying that the stock market could fall another 20% and Bitcoin moves 3x the S&P, right? So that would be 12,000. So that's my zone here. You understand I'm finishing this, right? And then the other one was 24%, right? Extra, because that was the other thing, which would be 75%. And then, oh, look at that. It just aligns with this zone that I have here. It aligns with this zone. So again, I'm not trying to scare you guys. Just saying, Bank of America thinks like this type of stuff is possible. And they take it pretty seriously. Those are their messages that they give to their smart money. This isn't the message that they send out. This isn't like their advertising or something. This is the money that I mean. This is the message that they're putting out to their smart money. They want them to be prepared for this stuff. And so, if the smart money does intend to continue to crash the market, then we could potentially see these lower levels. And I don't know if this is right or wrong. I'm not Bank of America. I don't have their data. But I would probably keep some amount of cash for these levels, just assuming that we do come back to this, what did I say? Immediately post-COVID era. Because all of this, guys, all of this was free money. And whenever you have crazy run-ups, what do? You come back, right? Whenever you have crazy run-ups, what do? You come back. So I think the targeting low would be somewhere here, like 21,000, $22,000, right, on this diagonal, right, in this kind of like area diagonal right here, maybe 21, 22, and that this is just going to get, erased. Like this crazy run up is just going to get erased. But Bank of America is telling us that, hey, maybe, you know, the Federal Reserve's decisions all the way back from these years have been kind of crazy. And so maybe we're gonna, have a massive wave correction where all of this was excessive and that our true range lives over here. And so we could have a dip into this region. We've never seen a dip this low before on Bitcoin. I mean, since back here in the origin days, we've never reached these levels except in the very origin days. And maybe we won't, guys. Maybe we won't. I have a red line here for a reason. Like, I don't think we're gonna break that red line. Like, that's why I have that red line there. And I think as we get wedged into this area, right? Like, if we just, bounced around and went sideways, I think if we wedged into this area, I really do think that the next move would probably be a parabolic move, right? Somewhere in 2023, perhaps. End of 2023. That next parabolic move might happen. It could be to the middle. It doesn't have to be to the top, but the next parabolic move could happen. And that maybe just all of this was just one type of little movement concentrating for this thing. And so if we got back down into these areas, maybe that would be very consistent with this, right? And then for the future, right, we'd be set up for the next one, right? Whatever it does. Boom, right? And then you get your $1 million, Bitcoin like a decade from now or 2 decades from now, whatever it takes. I have no idea. Assuming the asset doesn't die or doesn't get regulated to death. But yeah, guys, that's just my hypothesis on what could possibly happen and how to make DCA points and how to DCA. Again, we already hit the first one. We already hit the first one, and we hit it on the dot. We hit it on the dot. Like that was the spot to DCA in. And I really regret being sick today because I just missed it. I just missed it. And I feel bad for that because that would have been a great DCA, but I'm not going to chase this candle. I'm going to wait for some type of pullback or something to happen, some type of confirmation of bullishness or a pullback because it's a bit late right now. It's a bit late. I did call $25 Luna and we hit $25 Luna. People said it was impossible, but we got it. We got it. Right. Yep, this one. And look at this. Look at this wick. It wicked right to the top right here. Right to my next level. This diagonal. I'm telling you, these diagonals are amazing. Like it wicked right to this diagonal. Again, just the algorithms and bots. You can't. There's nothing else to say. Wicked right there, and it started to come back down. Right. How much did it come up? 47%. Oh my gosh. Oh, how come I didn't buy at 25? Just sleep. All right, guys. This market can hurt you both ways, up and down, and you're gonna feel lots of emotions. Try not to FOMO. Do try to grab in, like whenever you're at like some type of support that you've identified. Do try to grab it because there can be some just amazing chances to trade. Um, but don't deploy all of your money. Make sure that you have something to use on the way down, just in case things continue to go sour, which is pretty much how it looks like it's going to continue to be. The Fed's going to continue to raise interest rates over this year, and Bank of America is predicting the stock market could fall another 25% down. So you take those two things together, and there's probably some truth to it. There's probably some truth to it, and these bounces are probably going to be reaction rallies because you get so oversold that you have reaction rallies until you get to some normal levels, and then you can continue your way down, just like little bouncy areas. For Bitcoin, I was warning people that the bottom wasn't over here at 33 or 34. I was mentioning to them that, you know, especially on the weekly, that these areas look very similar to 2018. So you see these boxes I've marked out? They look very similar to 2018, and how it's playing out is very similar to 2018. So that would suggest that we're not at the bottom yet. Okay, it would just suggest that we're not at the bottom yet. And let's see, this one continued. This one, yeah, I mean, this, you see how we started to round, and that's where it started to end? Like, we're not rounded yet, right? We're not rounded yet on this MACD. On the RSI, we're starting to curve in, but we're still headed down. Still headed down. So could we approach this yellow line like we did here? Perhaps, perhaps. I mean, even this white dotted line would be, somewhere you might want to consider to really be buying the majority of your stuff between these levels. That's where we would be, the last time we were that oversold was 2018. That would be a total reset on the market. Our directionless volatility is still expanding. This thing hasn't even begun, right? This thing is just in the early stages. We've crossed the little stars, and we've crossed the moving average, and so we're basically in this area. And I would expect continuation to keep for this volatility to keep pushing us in this direction. And you can see there is a slight slope to it. So on the weekly, I would just expect us to get at least into this area. At least into this area before the drop is totally finished. It doesn't mean that we can't have bounces along the way, but I would expect us to for this volatility to keep expanding. Now we can look at the 5-day. Yeah, we're not done yet, right? How about the 2-week? Yeah, the 2-week is wow, that's incredible. This is interesting. The 2-week is still falling. Wow, this thing has totally broken its trend. I'm not sure what to make of that. The 2-week is interesting. I'm going to keep paying attention to the 2-week. But the monthly looks pretty normal. That 2-week is very peculiar. Yeah, it's just begun also. It still has ways to go. But that's okay. That probably just reflects the weekly and just some other abstraction. Let's go ahead and go over to the CME chart. Same thing, same thing. How's the 5-day here? Same thing, just expanding. So this could be a massive run. We're expanding with volatility in one direction, which is down. So yeah, personally, I don't think this is over yet. I think we have a ways to go. We have ways to go. Yeah, we are at these stars right here. You can see like sometimes we bounce off the stars, right? Bounce off the stars here. So potentially, could we have some upside for a while and then continue? Yeah, I think that's a possibility. And until we break through this area, like I don't, I'm still open-minded to like a bounce. I just feel that it may be temporary. How's Ethereum doing? Wow. Wow. Okay. The heck is this? Let's just get rid of all this. What is that? Yeah, I mean, if you look at Ethereum, it kind of goes through these epochs where it has this kind of like cap. See this? And then every time it dumps from there, right? You guys see what I'm drawing out here, right? There's like this kind of like little cap on top of Ethereum. And then what does it do? It dumps. It dumps. Is it going to dump again? That would be very Ethereum of it, right? That'd be very Ethereum of it to do. How can I draw this? Hmm. No, it's not going to 750. What am I thinking? But anyway, this pattern is obviously clear. There is something to that pattern, and maybe yeah, maybe 1800. You know, 1400 maybe. If we continue our way down, if this is a top and we get one of these like crazy drops that happens, let's see, I grabbed here, that would be the equivalent of this, so 1800, right? It dropped here, which could be seen as like this, so 1400, and then it actually had a dramatic drop, which I think is probably avoidable because of how established Ethereum is. However, we do have to consider that this is kind of a zone to check back in. And so, no, I don't think so. 600? 600? Come on. What else do we have over here? Hmm. I don't want to think about those lower numbers. All right. Based upon this pattern, well, here it didn't do it. Here it just had those two levels. Yeah, there was a wick. It's just funny how this stuff plays out, right? Like you can almost see what's going to happen, you know, if you use your imagination, which it doesn't have to be. This doesn't have to be fate, but if we continue going down, Ethereum's telling me it wants to go to like 1800 or possibly 1400. I'll just put that out there, okay? Not a call. I'm not calling it. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, from my imagination, you know, Ethereum could want to go to 1800 or $1400. And don't be too shocked if the market continues down, if that sort of thing happened, okay? Weird little spoon shapes. All right, guys, that was your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.